When it comes to LED lights, what I really want these days is a big, soft light source, ideally something that's bicolor with a high CRI value. Now we have a couple of options. Of course, they're rather expensive, like the Kino Celeb. They're great lights, but again, they're rather pricey. So I'm always on the lookout for something much more affordable. And I was on eBay the other week, and I went to see what Steven.studio had to offer. And lo and behold, he had a new light I hadn't seen before. He had large, soft LED lights. Now, I've never seen those before. I don't know anyone who's used them. I haven't read any reviews. So I saw it and I decided it was really worth buying to see if it was what they claim it to be. Now, one of the appeals about this, besides being, of course, a big soft light, is that it's razor thin. I can imagine a lot of locations where it gets really tight. There's no room to build a book light. There's no room to set up a chimera in front of a tungsten light or even a LED panel. So something this thin we could jam up right next to a wall and hopefully, solve a lot of problems. Now, as you can see, this is battery enabled, although you're going to need probably a battery like an HCX or something because of the power draw. It does still take over 1 amp of power at 110 volts. Bicolor, rated from 32 to 5600 degrees Kelvin. I think on the SIN meter it comes in closer to 3000 to 5300 degrees Kelvin, which is not necessarily a bad thing, especially as a key on a human face. And it's dimmable from 10 to 100%. These units are also DMX enabled if you use a DMX panel. I don't have one, so I haven't really looked into it. Now, the real question that I, of course, had was, what is this light like? How's the color and how's the output? So let's take a look at those two items now. Now, whenever I get a new light fixture, I do always want to test it against our gold standard. Now, if it's a daylight balance, we're going to test it against God's light, the sun, or if it's tungsten balanced, we're going to test it against a tungsten light fixture. In a bicolor, of course, we're going to test both ways and see how the light compares. Now, for a subject, for me, again, it's always important to test the lights on the human face because that's, for me, again, it's the most important thing that we photograph. And everyone knows what a face should look like or the colors of a face should be, as opposed to a test chart, which or other objects which can be a little more open to interpretation. Now, of course, I do shoot test charts for myself, but that's not really the point of these tests. It's really about how does a light render the human face. Now, the first question is, am I using the LED light or the tungsten light to shoot this intro? And the answer is, you'll see immediately, I was using the LED light. Now again, for my test, I try to cross-key myself, and then I'll get a measurement and make sure I'm at the same distance between each light fixture. In this case, it's 3 feet 11 inches. After the distance, I will take our classic SIN light meter, set to read foot candles, and I'll get a reading on our tungsten fixture, which came in about 68 degrees or 68 foot candles. No dimmer, just running straight through. And then I'll match the output on the LED fixture. Now in this case, I was actually surprised because I had to dim down the LED fixture to match the tungsten fixture, which again, it's a pleasant surprise. Now the last thing I'll do is using this handy SIN meter app from Adam Wilt. This app is I like to take a comparative color temperature reading because I don't have a traditional color meter. Now this LED fixture, it's been coming in at 3100 degrees Kelvin with a very slight green tint, a 1G on the tint meter. Now our tungsten fixture all day long has been at 2930 degrees Kelvin with a very slight magenta tint, either 2 or 3M on the tint meter. Now it's a tungsten bulb running through an older chimera, so the chimera might be fading a little bit or tinting a little bit, so it's slightly off color, but that's what we get. Okay, here's my quick daylight test, again with a face. Off to camera right, we have sunlight coming through a window, heavily diffused. Now off to camera left, we have our LED light, our big soft LED. Now this light was set to 5600 degrees Kelvin, but again with the SIN meter it looks like it's closer to 5200 degrees Kelvin. There is a slight tint shift, as you can see. What I really want to know is, can we color correct this light much closer to our liking? And we're going to try that right now. So we have our light. Right now it's reading about 5290 degrees Kelvin, and we're slightly greenish. We're at a 1415 G in tint. So it's, as you can see in the monitor, it's slightly green compared to, well, now we have a cloudy day, so we lost some illumination. But we know it's a slightly green light whenever we turn on our sources, either daylight or a true tungsten bulb. So let's bring down a 1/8 minus green to see what happens. Now 1/8 minus green down, and we are down to 50 Kelvin at actually at a 1M. So the gel, warmed up the light considerably. We're now at 5000 degrees Kelvin, or pretty close to that. And we are actually pretty close on color. We are at it goes between a 1M and 2M tint. Now I personally feel a very, very slight magenta tint is preferable to a very slight green tint. So this is movement in a very good direction. However, the light is quite a bit warmer than where we probably want it to be on a daily basis. So let's add a little bit of 1/8 CTB. So with both gels down, we are at 5860 Kelvin, 5860 degrees Kelvin, and at a 2G tint. We'll get a very slight green tint. So this blue CTB gel has a little bit of green in it, probably more than we wanted, but it's really not that bad. So where are we? We have a big, round, soft, bicolor LED light. It's as bright as a 1K through a full chimera. And if we need to, we can battery operate it on location. So just quickly pop in some batteries, turn it on, start shooting, and then take it down and go away for the next setup. So right now, I'm actually really happy with this light. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting some gels. I'll probably permanently affix the 1/8 minus green to it because it always does have that LED green to it, very slight. But by comparison, I was at a studio the other day and they had some BBS Area 48 lights with the daylight remote phosphor panel on it. And with, again, our little meter, which is my phone, that light was 15G tint. So again, the typical LED green tint. Even the high CRI ones, I think that's rated like 93, 94, still has that 15G tint to it. And now we've just been able to correct, it out and have a pretty accurate, inexpensive, big soft LED light. So now it's become a 2 thumbs up light.